All right, guys, I'm here with Peter. He just took 8th place at today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament. Peter, what are you running?
We're running Sky Strikers.
And why that?
There's just something about Sky Strikers that I just really like. It's like you're playing chess. You gotta be super, super patient. But also, the moment you get patient, the more you take advantage of your opponent. Because eventually, if you're playing like game 3, everyone's pretty much drained, but you cannot be drained. Otherwise, this deck will not work. You can't go rogue, you can't go combo crazy. Like, you can if you want, but you're gonna be drained faster. And, you know, you just gotta be very strategic. And this deck, I think, is very, very fun for that. And we're in a format right now where we cannot let Tier, Sprite, or Fluwanderies succeed. So, unfortunately, this deck will not be, you know, ban list ready, but for this ban list,
It'll be good for 3 more days.
Yeah.
And probably not by the time this video is uploaded.
No.
So if you're...
So, yeah, it's this deck is just a good time, and it's a beautiful set of cards, beautiful designs. That's why I like Sky Strikers.
All right, let's see the deck.
Yeah. So here's the Sky Striker stuff. So we have 3 Ray. We run 1 Rose.
Only 1
because
Rose.
I just don't have any purpose for running 2 Rose because I added the Hamp in here. So this card is actually pretty insane. I know some people just don't main this, but I think maining this is pretty nice. It's basically, you treat this as a Kaiju card. Like, the moment you can just pop something, let's say if your opponent's running like adventure stuff, you can either do a couple things. So what I did with one of my opponents is I impermed his Griffin, and then I hamped his Griffin, so that way his Griffin would just be sent to the graveyard and cannot be into the deck. And then you can just pop stuff with like Afterburners. If you pop the Afterburners, you can pop this card and then pop another card, which is pretty insane. I know some people are using this as a side, but I personally like to do it in main, but of course there were times where today I just sided out. But it's not needed. You can have this in your side, but I like to do it main because it's basically a Kaiju card. It's just really nice. I wish Konami would have given us more Sky Striker stuff. I mean, the Hamp's a start, but I feel like we could do a little bit more. Listen to us, Konami. We want more Sky Striker support.
It's just you. It's just you, Peter.
No. Everyone wants it. Next, we got some hand traps. So we got 2 Valor, 3 Ash, 3 Ghost Spell. You need Ghost Spell in this format. It is so important. We cannot let people continuously mill and then have great effects. Ghost Spell is just more important than ever. Then 2 Ghost Stirrer, and then 3 Imperm. I guess you want to call Forbidden Droplet a hand trap.
Functionally.
It's not really hand trap, but it's just pretty nice. And then I only have 1 because it's expensive. And then we have 1 Call Back. Reason why I run 2 Ghost Ogre is because I think it's getting phased out from the format. Like, it's not very useful. I have never used Ghost Ogre at all, especially with this deck. Like, I've been running it for a while, and I just haven't really had a use for Ghost Ogre. Same with Valor. I had 2 Valor because I rarely use Valor. I know you all might call me foolish and whatnot, but I've rarely had to use Valor, and I've actually have never drawn Valor out of this deck in my entire life. I have never drawn it. So this is actually pretty useless, but I think Ghost Ogre is getting phased out. Same with Nibiru. I used to main Nibiru, but of course with Fluwanderies, Miss Valley, that's just gonna negate it. And a lot of decks right now are just very, very patient, and I just don't really think Nibiru is that great in this deck anymore. But that's just me. Other people have different opinions on that, but yeah. But more importantly, you need to play Ghost Spell. It is so important. You just need to play it. If you're not playing it, like, I at least want you to understand that, like, you're playing with decks that are going to use a lot of graveyard effects, and Ghost Spell is very, very important. Next, we got the Sky Striker spells. Very heavy on the spells. But
I wonder.
So we got 1 multi-roll. The moment you have this and you have a bunch of Sky Striker spells, play this first, because you're going to get some stuff on your backfield, or your back row. Then we do 3 Widowmaker, 1 Engage. I wish it was 2 like Master Duel. 1 Afterburners. The reason why I did 1 Afterburners is because I want to make room for the Eagle Booster. Ego Booster is a pretty good card. I don't know why people don't play it. I think it's pretty handy, especially if you're playing like a very, very spell and trap heavy deck. Like, you want to have Ego Booster because it's going to protect your Sky Striker stuff. More importantly, it doesn't get it destroyed. So that's why I play Ego Booster over another Afterburners. It doesn't hurt to play another Afterburners, but for the sake of like consistency, I just think having another Ego Booster is pretty nice. You do 1 Hornet Drones, 1 Shark Cannon, 1 Area 0, and 2 Linkages. These cards are actually pretty freaking nice. If you don't have it already, you are missing out and you are so far behind. You're gonna have, you could potentially OTK someone if you really wanted to. I haven't had that privilege yet, but theoretically you could actually do that because if you do Hayate, and then you dump Ray, and let's say your opponent is trying to destroy your Hayate, you can allow it to get your Hayate destroyed. Then you can bring back Ray. Boom. Attack. Boom. Link Tribute. Then you have, you can do Kagari or Shizuku, whatever you want, and then boom. And then you can use Kagari, bring this back, and then back and forth. It's pretty nice. It's basically like, kind of like, it's just extra bodies, honestly. Linkage is actually just going to help you bring extra bodies out. But I think you should play this if you're going to play Sky Strikers. I think Sky Strikers got hit very hard with the new ban list, but...
As they should be.
No, they should not be. They deserve so much love.
No bias from the cameraman.
Next, we got the Lightning Storm, Regeki, and Dusty. I do not have 3 Lightning Storms, so I just do 1. It doesn't hurt to play either of these, especially if you're dealing with back row. Like, Dusty is just pretty nice, and then Regeki, it's just a classic. But Lightning Storm, I have a love-hate relationship with Lightning Storm because if you have stuff already on the field, you can't use it. That's why I like to have Regeki and Dusty as well. If you're gonna go second, Lightning Storm's pretty nice, but if you're gonna have bodies on the field, it's not gonna work out that well. So that's why it doesn't hurt to have Regeki, it doesn't hurt to have Dusty. Next, we got some other spells. Just like 1 Rhoda, 1 Upstart, 1 Terraforme, out of Avarice. I know most of you are going to think I'm weird for this, but I like to have this because it's just consistent, especially if you're playing a deck like mine that's just hand trap heavy. You're just continuously dumping monsters back and forth, and then just for this deck, you need to keep drawing. That's just how it's just going to make your deck more consistent, and it's just nice to have. Then we do a Mind Control. Another controversial thing, you can do Change of Heart if you really wanted to. I like to do a Mind Control because it's just an extra body on the field. That way you can make Zeke, and then you can just banish stuff on the field. And so it's just pretty nice to have. And then we do 1 set rotation, which allows you to do an Area 0, so your opponent doesn't have to use it because they don't really have a purpose to, but you make
Mystic Mind.
This card is absolute bonkers for Sky Strikers because without these, I don't know how it can really function, me personally. Like, it's nice to have Mystic Mind because you have Mystic Mind and then you have Hayate, and then you could theoretically Hayate for game. And honestly, you're gonna need 1 extra deck monster constantly anyway for Sky Strikers, so having Mystic Mind is just pretty nice because you know for a fact your opponent's gonna do like 3-4 monsters, especially if you're doing like Tier or Sprite. Like, they're gonna have so many more bodies than you. You need Mystic Mind. It's just very, very nice. I hate to say it does need to go. Coming from someone who likes to run like rogue heavy decks that's just so combo heavy, especially like Dragon Links, this hurts it so much. But it needs to go. Like, I hate to say it, but it needs to go. And I
Peter's having an existential crisis during this YouTube video.
I'm gonna miss it a lot, especially for Sky Strikers. Like I don't know any person that runs Sky Strikers without Mystic Mine. Feel free to reach out to me about that because I'm very curious how you would run that. But you need Mystic Mine for Sky Strikers. It got hit very, very hard, but it is what it is. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! You gotta learn to play better. Get your game on. And then in order to get Metaverse as well, not Metaverse, Mystic Mine, you get a Metaverse. Be careful with this because if, let's say you're doing it like, okay, it's very foolish that you do it on your opponent's standby phase because then you activate mine and they're like, okay, we're not gonna do anything. Or theoretically, I can figure out a way to just pop it immediately by Cosmic. You don't want to do that. So do this when your opponent is just going crazy. Or if they're targeting this in your back row and it's face down, then you activate Metaverse. Then you can grab Mystic Mine. And then activate it, boom. Your opponent can't do anything. And then one last trap. Unending Nightmare. I like having Unending Nightmare in theirs because, especially if your opponent is playing like Rika Sunvalan, you want to get rid of the Kankan. I hate it so much. I hate that card so much. And I hate other field spells and other stuff. It just helps to prevent that stuff from happening.
All right, let's see the extra.
Yeah. So we run 3 Kagari, 3 Shizuku, 2 Hayate. I do 2 Hayate because I just want to make room for the Charmers. You can run 3 if you really wanted to. I don't really see a purpose in 2, but if you're trying to make room for other stuff, 2 Hayate is all you need. And then 1 Kana, 1 Zeke, and then for the Charmers we got 1 Dark and 1 Light. Everyone's gonna be playing Dark and Light at some point. If you really wanted to, especially if you're against like Flu Wanderies, like you can do Win. I don't really see a point, but it doesn't really work anyway because you're not running anything Wind in Sky Strikers. But you're better off just doing Dark and Light because Rose is a Light, and then Ray is a Dark. So it's just easier to build stuff from there. Then for back row help, we do a Nightmare Phoenix. I hate back row stuff. Especially Dimensional Fisher. You got to get rid of that somehow. But at the cost, you are going to get discard for cost, and that's going to get banished, so you do have to be careful about that. But you got to get rid of D Fisher. I hate the fact that it's at 3 now, but it is what it is. And then we have one more link, and that's Access Code. It's pretty standard on Sky Strikers. But one thing I will add, and the reason why I did the 2 Hayates instead of 3, is I wanted to make room for the Dweller. You have to play Abyss Dweller. It is so important. It is more important than ever before in the current format that we're in right now. It is so crazy that there's so many decks out there that are just bringing graveyard effects back and forth. You need to run Dweller. If you're not running Dweller, I don't understand it. I genuinely don't understand why you're not running Dweller in any deck. It is so pivotal. It is so important. You have to run Dweller. It is non-negotiable. At this point in time, you need to run Dweller. Like, I've had times where I'm playing against Tier. They're, you know, milling, and then, oh, guess what? A Shizu card. Yeah, that's not happening.
This is just Peter's vent session.
Yeah, I mean, Dweller's just nice. You need Dweller.
All right, let's see the side deck.
Yeah. So for the side deck, I do, and you'll see why. I hate Blue Wanderies so much. So unfair cards. They should not exist. Like, these will help save you from Blue Wanderies. You can run Alancia if you really wanted to. If you're trying to like get rid of stuff, you need to do Ruler. Even then it helps you with stuff, especially with like sprites. It's pretty nice. Like Dark Ruler, you just can't go wrong. Then Droll, it's a really good disruptor, especially with decks that are just continuously adding stuff to the hand. Like, you cannot allow that from happening. So Droll is very important, more than ever before. It's not to say that like it wasn't important, but having Droll in your side or your main can actually be pretty nice. You might think I'm weird for this, but I do 3 Silent Graveyards. Again, just we're in an era right now where we all hate Tier. So I don't want to deal with graveyard effects. I know you don't want to deal with either unless you're a Tier player. But I like to have Silent Graveyard in there. It does discard for cost, but you know, at the same time, you really got to make sure that like your opponent can't do stuff in the graveyard. Like it's just so important. Then we do 2 Cosmics, 2 D Barrier, and 2 Tikaboo. This card you have to be very careful. The only reason why you have this is if you have Mystic Mine and Hayate on the field, because that way your opponent is just locked out of everything else, and you're just locking in yourself to win, and that's all you really need. Like your opponent can't really do much, and you know you're just making sure that they get stuck. Then D Barrier, I don't really. If I'm going to be honest with you, I think D Barrier might get phased out like in the next ban list probably, because like I've used D Barrier, but if I'm going against like Exo Sister, like it makes it kind of useless. If I'm being very honest with you, it doesn't hurt to have it, but honestly, like for the amount of people that I played against that's doing like Exo Sister and like Branded Tier, this doesn't really do much for me, honestly. But yeah, I still do D-Barrier. There's just something with D-Barrier, especially with decks that if you're playing against opponents who aren't playing like Tier, Sprite, or Flu, like you can still have D-Barrier, especially if you're going against like Branded Despia and stuff. Like card's insane if you're going through Branded Despia. But yeah, that is the Sky Striker deck.
Awesome. Do you have any shout-outs?
Absolutely. I got a shout-out to Legend Sports and Games for giving these out to the MSU Yu-Gi-Oh! Club. This is so beautiful. It's custom made and everything. Shout-outs to Legend Sports and Games from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Shout-outs to the MSU Yu-Gi-Oh! Club. Here, it's honestly a great time. I've made so many great memories. Shouts to Miles, Grant, Gall, Aiden, Christian, all the gang in here. Like, and don't forget Evolution Games, because shouts to Evolution Games. Like, it's down in Lansing, Michigan. It's such a great time. All the boys over there, like, they know what they're doing. They want to get everyone to be better, especially here at Michigan State. Like, everyone wants to get better. You gotta get your game on. Like, it's honestly a great time here. Shout out to my mom for letting me play this game. I know she is pretty furious at the fact that I'm spending all this money on Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead of
Drugs.
I don't know about that one, but on like good resources. And shouts to Legend for the playmat as well. Like, I love this playmat. I've been using this for a while. It's so beautiful. But yeah.
All right. Thank you, Peter.
Yep.